Okay, today I said I was going to answer a couple of questions that I got. So we're just going to get into it. One of the biggest things that I did kind of want to speak about is how negatively India is shared online, which as an American, I'm just going to be completely honest, I understand why. I can also say that in America there's many spots that are dirty, polluted, unsafe. And so I have found it really disheartening that that's the biggest storyline of India is that it's dirty, overpolluted, overpopulated. And while all these things are true, people are not also discussing the fact that 20% of the world lives in India. India, one country alone, has 20% of the entire population of the world. And so if you think about New York City, if you think about LA, if you think about San Francisco, these are really overpopulated cities. They're not always the cleanest, they're not always the safest. And so I think that sometimes things are miscued for publicity. I don't know another way to say it is that I think when some of the Western spots see some of the videos that come from India, it is very different. I'm not going to pretend that there wasn't a huge culture shock for me. And that was kind of one question I gotten that, they as an Indian traveled to West and that it was a culture shock for them. And so they were saying, I can only imagine the culture shock that it was for me. And yes, of course, I think one of the most heartbreaking things is to see the pollution. And this isn't something that I'm just saying ignorantly. It's something that, as somebody who cares about the planet, as somebody who, I do try to be mindful of my footprint, it is really sad to see that in India there is many places that are very polluted. I'm not even going to try to pretend that that's not an issue, but in the same hand, India doesn't have as many systems as other countries do to help with things like that. So I think that it's always important to look at both sides and to look at the full picture. And so yes, there's pollution, yes, there's trash everywhere, but there you don't really have things that are designed to help them. In America, we have a trash system. We don't really have that here. And so, what are people supposed to do? You know what I mean? And I think that that's something that a lot of Westerners are not understanding is that yes, there is pollution, but I can't speak for people of India or Indians, but I don't think that they necessarily want it either, but it's just how their life is. There's many things in America that people from all over question it, but the hard fact is that you become a product of your environment, and what you live in every day you become desensitized to. And so yes, they act like it's no big deal because it's their life and this is how they live. And so I think sometimes people can be really judgmental and harsh towards Indians because they live this way. But the truth is that happens everywhere. No matter where you are, you become desensitized to your environment and you just learn how to survive and live in what you have. And so I think it's really important to look at all sides and look at why things are the way that they are rather than to just judge blatantly without knowing more facts. So that is one of the biggest things, because that's something that even all my family and friends, they see pictures and videos of places that I've been here in India and they're like, I didn't know that India looked like that. India is giant and it has so many beautiful places here that I haven't even touched the surface of traveling here, but I've already seen so many beautiful places. And so it honestly feels really heartbreaking to acknowledge the fact that there's such a big misconception of India that people don't even think of giving it a chance to go explore it. Which brings me to my first question. Somebody asked, how do you know about India as it has a very bad or poor image on social media? So long story short, I started practicing yoga back when I was 17 in America. And I'm somebody that's if I say I want to do something, I want to do it authentically. I want to do it in the most true form. And so I said, as a little 18-year-old, 17-year-old, I was, 16 or 17. I said, I want to go to India and learn yoga. I wanted to become a yoga teacher from India. And mind you, this was back when I was 18 years old. I had never traveled. I just got this weird hair that I said that I wanted to do this. I didn't ever think it was, I wanted it to come true, but I didn't ever think it was going to come true. And then in the meantime, I had done some international travel. So I've traveled to the Philippines and I've traveled to Ireland outside of India. And so I just had something in me that said go to India when I was younger. And then obviously, if you've looked at any of my like videos, you'll see that I do have a son. My son passed away 3.5 years ago, and that was what I can't find it, but somebody else had asked me like what was the driving factor that caused me to actually come to India. So the driving factor was that when my son died, I died, and I was severely depressed, and I really didn't want to live anymore. And so I was living for other people. And then I kind of got to the point where I was like, all right, if I'm going to stay here on earth and live, then I'm going to do what I want to do. So I kind of had this like very fearless, like who cares what happens type of mentality. And so I said when I was 18 that I wanted to go to India, so let's go to India. And I just researched a yoga program, booked a ticket within a month, and then was in India 6 months later. It was a very like intuitive move. And that was back in 2023. And then when I spent 1 month here, I fell in love. I can't really put words to exactly like what made me love India, but it was more the internal feeling of how I feel here. And that's one thing that is really difficult to explain to Americans or Indians, because a lot of people, the Americans say, "What are you doing?" and the Indians say, "What are you doing?" But it's kind of that like when you know type of thing. And when I came here the first time, I came alive. Like even like my close family, like my little sister was like, you went to India and you like came alive, like you came back to life and you didn't look so dead inside anymore. I don't think that there is another way to explain how much it like healed me. And so I think I got this like little tiny piece, and so then I was like, I want to go back. And so I went back to the US, and I kind of had this like somehow some way I'm going to come back, but I didn't really have anything set in plan or anything. And so then I kind of just saying like, one day I'm going to go back, one day I'm going to go back. And then things in America just started changing. And I truly believe that it's important to make sure that you're supporting good causes, meaning that you're aware where you're spending your money. I guess the best way to say it is like being responsible for your life and understanding that where you live and what you spend your money and time in, you're enabling. And I just didn't feel comfortable staying in America anymore, understanding like what's actually happening there right now. And so back last January-ish, I just got this feeling like you need to start really planning to like leave. And so I started working a lot and I started saving up. And that's a lot of my questions also, is that how do you afford this saving? And this is something that I've done since I was younger. Like I went on my first international trip back when I was 20 years old, and I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 7 days a week, and just saved. I'm not careless like how I spend my money, so I typically don't eat out. I am very conscientious of where my money goes. I don't buy designer items. I think that's awkward for me. Why are you sitting outside? You're making it awkward. Just like really conscientious where I spend my money and how I spend my money, and I wanted to not be supporting something, so I just decided that it was time for me to get out. I do work online. That's another question that I've been getting a lot. I am building my website, and I am trying to essentially merge Western and Eastern medicine to bring more of a holistic view to people's health, because as somebody that struggled with mental health and many issues, I've been able to cure myself, heal myself without medication, and that's something that I want to share with the world. And so that's something that really means something to me, which that would be like a whole video on itself. I did get a few more questions, but this video is already getting long, so I'm going to stop it here. And then maybe I'll do a part 2, and maybe I'll just do it like over one of my vlogs. So hope you enjoyed. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask, because I am pretty open, because I know what it's like to be on the other side. So I'm happy to share my experience and hope that it brings somebody else a little bit of light. So thanks for being here.